Hey everyone, today I'll be going over the process of how to install a Halo 2 PC dedicated server. This will be an A to Z walkthrough from part 1, installing a new Windows 11 server, to part 2, installing the actual Halo 2 dedicated software. So first things first, you're going to want to go over to the Halo 2 Dedi tool Discord page, review the page there. They really have some good stuff on the setup guide, frequently asked questions. Give that a review, and then you're going to want to make sure you meet the prerequisites. First thing first, a hosting environment that can run Windows executables. For that, we'll be utilizing Windows 11. And then the second one, we really recommend that you use a VPS, a virtual private server, from a hosting provider. This is optional. However, you're going to end up with a more high quality product. And then just to make sure, if you are using your own hardware, that you do have access to the system administrator permissions and access to the network settings for port forwarding. That said, we're going to go ahead and wait for my ISO to mount, and once it does, we'll go ahead and kick into the demo. All right, once your ISO loads, you're going to go ahead and select your language. For the purpose of this demo and tutorial, I'm going to keep that on English and click Next. And then we're going to select the keyboard layout. I'm going to keep that US default and click Next again. Here we'll be installing a clean Windows 11, and we're going to agree to delete anything that was existing. So hit Next. Once we get to this screen, if you have your product ID, go ahead and enter it at this time. However, if you don't have that yet, you can click the I don't have a product key. This is a lab environment, so I'm not going to use a product key, and we're going to go ahead and skip that. On my production server, we do have that though. And once you get here on your selected image, you're going to go ahead and select the Windows 11 IoT Enterprise LTSC. This LTSC is long-term support, and the IoT is a much minimalistic version without bloatware, so it really helps keep the operations to the bare minimum and the system clean. Once that is selected, go ahead and click Next. It'll check in the background to make sure your hardware does meet the requirements for Windows 11, and then you'll get to this page which does a license terms agreement. If you agree to these, go ahead and hit accept. All right, once we get here, since this is a virtual private server, I am going to have to load some extra drivers in. However, if you're doing this on your own hardware, they should automatically pop up. So again, if you're doing this on a virtual private server, you're going to have to load some special drivers. And we're going to go ahead and hit the Browse button. We're going to go to our ISO image, and you should have your custom drivers already preloaded. Expand that. We're going to go to AMD64. This is Windows 11. Click OK. And we're going to go ahead and select this Red Hat driver and click Install. Once that is good, you'll now see that your disk has mounted and you're good to create a partition. So we're going to click that. I will be using the full space. However, if you want to split this into multiple partitions, you are welcome to edit those size over on the left. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And it'll build out those two partitions, one being the recovery and the other being the C drive. And then we're going to hit next. And then we're going to go ahead and hit install. All right, at this screen, we'll wait for Windows to complete its installation. This is a little bit of a lengthy process, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video in the meantime, and we'll just resume once we get closer to the end. All right, once the first installation is complete, it'll boot up into the second installation. So we'll go ahead and give that a moment. All right, same thing. We're going to go ahead and want this to get to 100. This should be much quicker than the previous one. And once complete, the system will reboot again. And we'll go ahead and wait. It should be booting up into the Windows home screen. All right. Once you are into the Windows boot up process, you're just going to go ahead and continue through the setup. And is this the country? We're going to go ahead and keep this as United States default. And then for the keyboard, also US default. Do we want to add a second? We're going to go ahead and say skip. 4, let's connect your network. We're going to go ahead and do this afterwards. Again, this is due to it needing drivers because it is on a VPS. So you can install them here if you wish, but for the moment, I'm going to go ahead and skip that. And we'll circle back to that once we're on the desktop. Here, you're going to go ahead and give your device a username. And then click next. And then you're going to give yourself a really secure password. This is a lab environment, so we'll go with something simple. Remember, if you are going to go and enable remote desktop, you definitely do want to have a secure password. And then we're going to go ahead and select our recovery questions. Again, this is a lab environment, so the server will be deleted after this tutorial. So we're just going to choose nice and simple, easy process for this part. And then on your privacy settings, I recommend going in and disabling all of these. But you can go through your own preference and then go ahead and hit accept. Now we'll just wait for the desktop to load. All right, now that the computer has loaded, we're going to go ahead and open File Explorer. And for my own purposes, This is not something I recommend, but because this is a lab, I'm going to go ahead and disable updates just so they're not kicking on right when we're going through and doing the install after internet is connected. I do recommend though that it leave this enabled, especially for one that is in production. And then you're going to go to this PC, you're going to go to where your ISO is mounted, and then you're going to open up your driver folder. All the way at the bottom is guest tools. Go ahead and right click on that and run as administrator. You're going to go ahead and hit yes, and you can close this now while that's booting. If you notice down here at the bottom, we do not have an internet connection. Those drivers have not been loaded, so we're going to go ahead and agree. Again, this is only if you're on a virtual private server or those drivers are not loaded by default. So we're going to go ahead and hit install. Then we're going to go ahead and hit next, accept the terms, hit next again, leave this default for everything, and hit next, and then hit install to confirm. And as you can see down in the bottom right, it now has network access and those drivers are updating. Once the drivers are good, it'll go ahead and install guest services. And installation was successful. Restart the PC after the first time you set up, since this is a brand new server and it has not even been restarted. All right, once you have successfully restarted your PC, we're going to go ahead and log in. And that completes part one of the Windows 11 server build on a virtual private server. So next we'll be jumping into part two. So for that, you're going to go ahead and need internet access. So let's go ahead and open Edge. And since this is a new machine, we're going to go ahead and start without data, uncheck, confirm and continue, continue without this data, uncheck, and confirm and start browsing. All right. So once here, you're going to want to go to the H2DT Dedi tool Discord and confirm the latest download URL. However, for the current time, we're just going to go ahead and put that on screen. https://halo2pc.com/server setup. It's important. This is case sensitive. And then Halo2 Dedi tool in abbreviations. And then you're going to go ahead and enter. Okay, once here, this page will load. If you have not joined their Discord yet, this is a great time to do so. This link right here, clicking that will invite you to the Discord server for Halo2 Dedi tool. If you're already there, here is the setup file. So you simply just click on this. It'll download very quickly. It's a very small file. And we're going to go ahead and open that up. Once that is done, you can now close out of the browser. And we're going to go ahead and open up that zip file. And once there, you can drag this out of the zip, put it in another location, or you can just run it while it's inside of the zip. So I'm going to double click on it. It is an unrecognized app. That is okay. We're just going to go ahead and hit more information and run anyways. And then go ahead and grant this administrator access for it to do the installation. A pop-up will happen. It's going to download the latest version available. And once that is complete, it will display an output for successful. And then it'll automatically launch Halo 2. And you should over on the left see a shortcut icon pop up also. Okay, for the sake of this demo, I did want to include some people might experience this, especially with different VPS or different hardwares out there. Halo 2 does have an anti-cheat feature, so if you get an error related to insignificant PC identification, this is because your hardware is not providing a BIOS information. If you think this is a mistake on the Dedi tools detection, then you can disable this, and I'm going to go through and just really quickly show that process. However, it's worth noting that even if you disable the check on the Halo 2 Dedi tool, it does not disable the check on the actual Halo 2 game itself. And when your server is trying to be built, you may encounter additional issues. So to get around this, we're just going to go ahead and click OK. We're going to close that folder, come over here, and we're going to open file location. And then inside of here, since this is a new server, we're going to change the view, show, and file name extensions. Once that is good, we're going to go ahead and do new, create a text document, and we're going to want to rename this text document. So we're going to select all, including the extension at the end, and say UUID.bypass. Go ahead and click enter, and then click yes. And once that is done, if we go over here, we can actually close out of this folder and rerun this. Say yes for administration, and it will successfully launch. So because this device has not been added to the beta, we're going to go ahead and have to take this case ID and add it to the beta allow list. In the future, this will be opened to the public. However, currently it is in an invite-only beta. To get access, you simply just do what the instructions here say, go to the Discord page, copy this case ID, paste it in, and then one of the administrations and staff will reply granting access. They're usually pretty quick about that. One of the convenient things is this case ID is actually automatically copied to your clipboard. So you do not have to hand type that if you're able to paste that over into Discord. And that ID is not tied to anything of a uniqueness. It's just a random generated for this tool. So you do not have to worry about any privacy with sharing that. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the allowed list for the beta, and we'll continue. Okay. Once you have added that on Discord and has a confirmed from one of the staff members, you can go ahead and click OK, or you could have closed this out while you wait also. Once they do confirm, though, that you have been granted beta access, then you'll just come back in, reopen up the application, granted administration, and it'll automatically load. Here, you're going to want to follow the steps documented on the guide. However, I will walk through the current process. So first being that we're going to want to install the Halo 2 dedicated server package. So we're going to click the download/install H2 server pack. Okay, once that is opened, you'll have a disclaimer notice. Just make sure you go through, read this. If you agree to it, click OK. If you do not, go ahead and hit cancel. And we're going to click OK for the tutorial purposes. It'll begin downloading. This is downloading about 1 gig of files for the server pack, the Halo updates, things along those lines. So depending on your network connection, this could take anywhere from 2 minutes to maybe 10 if you have a slower connection. So we'll just go ahead and wait for that to finish. It is also important that if you do have a slower network connection, this might appear to freeze at some points. However, just be patient. It will move forward eventually once those files have been downloaded. All right, once everything has been successfully downloaded and installed, you'll get a pop-up, completed Halo 2 Dedi has been fully installed. Go ahead and click OK on this. And then here, we're just simply going to go over to the Halo 2 server hosting tab. And since installation has been done, we're going to go ahead and set up service. And we're going to fill out all this information for the sake of time. I've already pre-populated it. However, you're going to want to go ahead and put in your username. This will be created in game. Your server name is your display name. I go ahead and put 2 Z's on there with Halo 2 demo. We'll go ahead and throw the word. There is a 15 character demo. Let's see, throw an X on there. And we'll keep the rest of these properties. We'll say demo Halo 2 Dedi tool. And we can just go ahead and hit start service. Down at the bottom, server lobby status is starting, and it is now signing in. And there we go. Now it does show current state online pregame lobby. We have one option down there at the bottom, and that is skip to next. If I do click that, the next map is lockout, so it should jump over to that one. And there we go. So now if I boot up into Halo, so this is on another machine. Let me move that into the space. And we're going to quickly sign in. And go to Browse Games. I'm going to go up all the way to the bottom since I did put those Z's in there, and there is our server. So let me move this a little bit out of the way if I can grab it. That might be a little tricky. And I'm going to go ahead and join. And then over here, this has a periodic refresh. However, we can force the refresh. So if I toggle back down, now it does detect there are players. So I can send a message. And we can say, hello world from digital dog, and throw a nice little smiley face in there. So if I do this quickly, I can hit OK, pop up the server, and there is the message. And if I can escape out of that, over here, we can stop the service and make changes if need be. Once the service is stopped, it will automatically refresh down here, and that is the demo. It is that easy to get a Dedi set up and running. I do want to point out that the subscription does automatically support 2 licenses, so you could come up in here and hit setup. Once set up, we could go through, put in another username, another password, and have another instance running on the same machine. You could even request access to a third one, and so on. Let's see, some basic features I do want to point out. So I do recommend you leave your ports the basic. The Dedi tool does a great job at dividing those out automatically, so you don't want them to overlap. On the HPL file, if we go in here and I'm going to just choose MLG, for example, and I don't have a notepad editor installed, so we'll just use the default notepad since this is a clean version. So inside of here, just a quick highlight of how HPL files work. This is your game type settings. If it has a semicolon in front, that is a comment. You're going to start out with your playlist and then your various options for that. And then you'll have your custom variants. Those will be your actual game types. You can have multiple of those, and you go ahead through and put all of the settings for that game variant, and you'll just give them each a unique name for each game variant. Once you have your game variants determined, Then you'll come down here to match, and you can have multiple matches, and you'll pick which variant it runs, which map is associated with that variant, and the minimum players and maximum players. The way that works is how will it load this match? If you set it to 2, for example, then unless there's 2 people in, it will not put this on. However, if all of them are above 2, then it just does random until that condition's met. This is not required. You can erase those. They are, like I said, optional parameters. If you do throw something in here that's silly, for example, if we change that to a 17, obviously Halo does not support 17 players, so if we save this and we select that playlist, whenever we start up our server now, we will get a friendly warning saying that, hey, we detected that line 290 had a value of 70, and this is not a valid value for maximum players. So that way you know better to go into your playlist and you can select and fix that. Same with if we stop this again and we change this to the default H1 customs playlist and we start this, we're going to hit errors that the maps are not found. Since those are not included by default, you'll have to go and download those maps and put them into the custom map folder. But we are signing in. And then we get a warning that all of these Halo 1 maps cannot be found. So if we hit OK, so in this situation, the playlist is empty since it didn't have a condition that could be met. However, normally it'll just ignore errors and continue with valid settings. We can stop that. And that is it. I hope you enjoy this demo.